So if you notice, this episode of Boruto was kind of like two episodes in one. All right, it had two very different approaches to the story, to the show of Boruto within itself. The first half I thought was great, and then the second half of the episode I thought, oh, now you're reverting back to your old ways of villain of the week type of a thing that you've been doing ever since the series started, with the exception of the last episode, which I thought was probably the best episode of this entire show. The first half of the episode I thought was great simply because it served to illustrate how much potential this show has, all right, to be its own unique thing, all right, shine in its own way, while at the same time also being a sequel to Naruto Shippuden. So that balance was definitely there in the beginning of the episode, and I think that if they can just keep that up, then this show is going to be very, very good, as long as they learn how to balance that. And it's not just, yes, the fight was part of the beginning part of this episode, but not just the fight. We had some pretty legit character moments in that first half of the episode. They turned Hanabi into an actual character in this episode. And this is something new that we hadn't gotten before in the previous Narutos, because before she was just kind of there. But in this episode, she gets a personality, she gets quirks, all right? She gets this kind of like supporting role for Boruto in a way, as a mentor, and as like this aunt that really cares about him and kind of wants to play around with him, but also is there to support him if he needs help. And granted, she wasn't in the episode for a very long time, but the moments and the time that we did get to spend with her, I thought did more for her as a character than both Naruto and Naruto Shippuden combined. And I think that's something that this show can use more of. The first half of the episode also gave us a pretty good character moment for Naruto as well. He's just, laying back and having a very, very chill conversation with Hiyashi about his kids. And I think this is one of the first examples, one of the few occasions where we actually see Naruto kind of behaving like an adult. And it just struck me like, wow, Naruto really is an adult now. These are the type of conversations that adults have about their kids, and it just struck me. And yes, you could definitely argue the fact that we've had adult moments from Naruto before, when he's in the Hokage office with Shikamaru, but the thing is, the office itself kind of provides this setting where in which he kind of has to be serious. And Shikamaru is his advisor, but he's also his peer. So there's, Shikamaru keeps him in check. Versus here, like, he's not wearing the Hokage clothing. He's in a whole different setting, and he still kind of acts like a serious adult. And it's kind of like, okay, wow, yeah, Naruto, you have grown up. It was just like this weird moment of like realization, and I think it took this one scene for me to notice that. And I guess from the storytelling aspect, the most important parts of this conversation are two. The first one is that Himawari hasn't manifested her Byakugan since the day that Naruto became Hokage, when she did it for the first time. So that hasn't happened again. By the way, I kind of like the fact that Hanabi calls Himawari Hima. I think that's what I should call her from now on, just Hima. And then the second important part of the conversation with Hiyashi is that Naruto acknowledges that he believes that Boruto was telling the truth about awakening this new eye power. It may not be the Byakugan, in fact we know that it's not the Byakugan, but he does believe his son because he realizes that if he were lying, he probably would not have been trying so hard to awaken it in his duel with Hanabi. And by the way, Boruto had some pretty good tricks up his sleeve during that fight, but ultimately, I mean, Hanabi just completely dominated that fight. I thought it was rather obvious that she was holding back against him throughout this entire thing. In the beginning of the episode, she tries this air palm strike against him. The palm doesn't even make direct contact, and yet Boruto is sent flying into a tree. After which Boruto uses Shadow Clone Jutsu, and I will give him credit for this because he at least tried, notice that I'm saying tried, to fool her by using the orange shades on one of the clones. But because it's the Byakugan, I'm pretty sure that she can see how the chakra is distributed amongst the clones, so she figured this out immediately. Boruto tries some kunai action against her. She dodges like a boss, like a complete pro. At one point, I think Boruto's coming down on her, and he's actually trying the gentle fist technique, I think at one point. And then he tries to surround her all at once with his clones, and that's pretty much good game because she uses rotation to just completely deal with all of them at the same time. So yeah, I mean, it was a nice little moment that we got, and it just showcased how much of a pro Hanabi is. And initially it was Hiyashi who was supposed to do with Boruto, but then Hanabi stepped in and she's like, no, old man, you're gonna throw your back out. Don't do this. So again, this is what I was saying about her personality. She's very, very like spunky and feisty, and so that was cool. And then there's this one shot, very, very small scene, very small moment of Boruto thinking back to Toneri, the dream that he had with Toneri, where in which he tells him about the eye. So again, all the hints that we're getting pretty much point to Boruto's new eye power being some type of a derivative of the Tenseigan, or maybe an improved version of the Tenseigan, given how much Toneri is hyping this thing up. So all the time we spent with the Hyugas was really good, but then we reached the second half of the episode, the thing just reverts back to being, the villain of the week that gets possessed by an evil chakra ghost shadow demon type of a thing. And it's up to Boruto to defeat it or to get that chakra to dissipate. And in this case, the villain of the week is Kagemasa, which I was very disappointed about this because I actually thought they were building him up for something bigger because of the last episode where they were in the movies, they were watching this movie, and I was like, oh, there's an actor. And so, yeah, I kind of began making all these connections, but they just kind of fell through in the end because it turns out that he's just an actor that was overweight. He put on a lot of weight, ate lots and lots of cake and sweets. By the way, I like the ending where the candy is kind of raining down, and then Sarada just grabs one and just eats it. So Sarada is in the later half of the episode, and I have to say, it's becoming a little bit annoying that she's acting a lot like Sakura did in the first half of Naruto. So here's the thing, right? In this episode, you notice how many times she calls Boruto stupid or you're an idiot. She's like, you're a baka, 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 baka. And so that dynamic made sense to a certain extent anyway. Doesn't mean that I enjoyed it or that I agreed with it, but it made sense to a certain extent within the Team 7 dynamic of Sakura, interacting with Naruto, because Naruto was never really school smart. He was never really good at academics. But Boruto, as we've been told countless times, Boruto is not Naruto. So if he's not Naruto, why is Sarada treating him like if he were Naruto? Because we know Boruto is not an idiot. We know he's not dumb, all right? In fact, in this very same episode, Naruto kind of said, things kind of just come very easy for him. So he's not stupid, and yet the writers seem to be adamant about having people treat Boruto like he's a mini Naruto. So yeah, and this is the first time I actually noticed this issue where in which it kind of almost feels like the people in charge of the show are conflicted, or maybe they're not even aware that they're doing this, where in which they want you to think of Boruto as a brand new, unique character, but at the same time, the characters around Boruto treat him as if he's like a younger version of Naruto. So I thought that was very, very interesting. To the same point, there is a scene where Sarada throws a shuriken, and this is the same jutsu, the same technique that they used in the Sabusa arc with Naruto and Sasuke. And so I'm torn as well. It's kind of like a tug of war, because it's like, okay, that was a really cool reference to that arc, to that technique, that sort of like team up attack. But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, you want me to think that these characters are different, yet they're doing the exact same thing that their parents did at one point. So it's kind of like, oh man, I don't know which side to go with. It's kind of like this weird thing where the moment can be very cool, but also kind of lame at the same time. That being said though, because of the first half of this episode and the way that it started, as well as last week's episode in its entirety, because of those two things, I can acknowledge with full confidence that this show is definitely trying to be a better version of what it originally started as. I think it's definitely putting in some work to try to be a different thing than what I thought it was originally going to be, which was like a very fun yet episodic and almost a borderline forgettable show that was aimed at a younger demographic. I definitely now see that it's trying to be something more than just that. So I will acknowledge that. Again, I really enjoyed the character moments. Also, I was going to say this. So maybe the reason why they decided to do a villain of the week for the beginning stages of this arc is because maybe they needed more time to develop the story and to develop the overarching sort of plot. The plot that really is going to matter by the end for the show. But that's just what I'm thinking. That maybe they need a little bit more time, so they played it safe and they went for the episodic routine. But please let me know what you thought about this episode down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video if you did. I appreciate that. I believe A new Boruto manga chapter comes out tomorrow. I may be wrong about that, but I think that's how the schedule works. Anyway, thumbs up if you'd like to, subscribe. Thank you guys.